how do you fight back with statistics in a sales tax audit? So statistics, just to give you a brief lesson, are about the integrity of the data that you have. So what you're doing with statistics is you're taking a representative population or an entire data set, let's call it a business's sales over a 3-year period, and then you're taking a representative sample. You're trying to create a fair and accurate sample of that population. So if we were to look at a business's sales over a 3-year period, the goal would be, how do we take a smaller subset of that we feel is going to be fair and accurate? So here's where CDTFA and us often get into it, is we have what we call a data fight. So CDTFA and your sales tax auditors have very limited resources. So when they do an observation test, when they do a markup test, when they're using the indirect methods of testing, they're only going to do it for a certain period of time, usually 2 to 3 days max. And so obviously the challenge is, if you're going to take a 3-day sample or a 2-day sample, how can that possibly be representative of over 1,000 days over the course of a 3-year period? 3 days, 1,000 days. That's not very representative, because you can have a variety of things that would go into those 3 days that could heavily tip the scales in one way or the other. Hopefully in the favor of your taxpayer, but it is what it is. Anyway, so the way that we counteract this very limited sample is through gathering a better sample. So in the course of a sales tax audit, when we feel that it's going to go down to one of these indirect methods of testing, we'll start gathering data immediately. We'll take a 1 month, we'll take a 2 month, we'll take a 6-month sample if that's what it takes. And then within that sample, we've got a much better percentage of data that we can rely on to give to the auditor to counteract their assessment. So number one, like if we're dealing with a month-long sample versus 3 days, you would think that the month-long sample is going to be a better representation of that total population than the 2 or 3 day test that the auditor did. Now, it could come out worse for the client depending on what the situation is, but you always have that to kind of fall back on. So you can take the auditor's sample if it works better in your favor. You can take your sample, or you can distinguish between the two. So oftentimes, we'll find faults in the auditor's data, we'll present our data, and then we have a better negotiating platform because we have superior data. The most important thing, and the term that you'll hear me use quite often, is something called data integrity. Whoever has the better data wins. Whoever's data looks more complete, whoever's data looks more accurate, they will get the nod more often than not. So that's how you beat CDTFA when they run those statistical analyses, and how to counteract their data with better data.